Hello and welcome to your YouTube channel Mind, Body and Soul. Today we're going to be looking at the mind section to do with economics, and the subject on economics is to do with silver. In 2008 a group of people, just normal people, they decided to liquidate their assets and turn it into silver. At the time of liquidation, silver was around £1,000 per kilo to 1100, so it fluctuated from that. Most of the silver was purchased by then, and it was the intention to put your money into silver, and then if the financial system, or the money system to be precise, collapses, then silver will go up dramatically in price. There was some talk of a kilo of silver today could buy you 10 ounces tomorrow. So that being in mind, this group of people started collecting silver. Now, to give you a scale of some of them, they're all ranging from just over a ton in storage to 30 ton. So, you know, not sort of Donald Trump sort of figures, but nonetheless, it's a lot of silver. Now, last week, while I was in conversation with them, they've set the benchmark for silver, they set the benchmark for silver to start selling 10% of their assets when silver reaches £70,000. Silver's under 500 today, so that's quite a long way. But they set the price for silver for 70,000, so you know, okay, when silver gets to 70,000. But then when I left the meeting, you know, I started thinking, what, you know, these are not stupid people, and I just couldn't help thinking, what could cause silver to go up to 70,000? Now, there's a lot of people that would like dismiss it and all that, but sometimes you just have to think, okay, imagine if silver goes up to 70,000 per kilo. What kind of events would have to happen for that to be a reality? And you kind of look at the moment what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and you could look at it that Russia's in the wrong, or you could look at it that Ukraine is in the wrong, they're being agitating Russia or whatever. Or you could look at it that all the leaders of the world are all one big club, and they set up events, you know, pandemics, wars, cyber attacks, to cover up the fact that maybe the financial system is collapsing. The financial system is collapsing, and these are the symptoms of a collapse. But regardless of which one of these three or others might be the reason, but the end result is the same. So what do I mean by that? Well, if Russia's in the wrong, oil prices are going to go up, inflation's going to go up, more destabilizing factors are going to happen to the economy. You know, already we've had supply chain problems, whether it's through transportation or raw materials. Now, that could be because there's a money problem, you know, or it could be, well, it could be sort of various other things. But the main thing to look at is, whatever you think an event is, what is their result? So if the result of things going up, now for example, they have turned around and said the 1st of April, so we're 1st of March now, so they said the 1st of April, gas prices, electric prices are going up 45% minimum. And in October, they're going to go up again. So someone I know received an email from the electricity supplier, the cameraman actually, and he was being informed that his gas is going up from £92 a month to £148. So that's more than a 45% increase. But say if it's a 45% increase in April, and then in October it's going up again. Well, the question is, how much is it going to go up in October? But what we can look at is the increases to energy are increasing by 50%. So it's not 1% like the nurses got 1% pay rise. Our increases are 50%. So then if your gas bill was 100, it's now going up to 150. If it goes up 50% in October, now it's going up to 225. So you've started off with 100, then you've gone to 150, then you've gone to 225. And now they're saying that if April's increase and October's increase is X, the problems with the war in Russia is that energy prices could go up 4x. So you've gone from 100, 150 next month, 225 October. If it goes up 4x, that's £900. So then you think, so it's going up from 100 to 900. So you sort of think, you know, that's a lot. That's another mortgage for most people. And then you kind of think, the three scenarios: is it Russia's fault? Is it Ukraine's fault? Is it the world leaders, one part of big club, to push up prices and to control things or to cover up collapses? And you think, well, if oil prices are going up, so they're upset against Russia, rightly or wrongly, but they're upset against Russia. They're putting sanctions on Russia. Oil prices are going up. They've already gone up. I mean, from oil per barrel beginning of the year was 40, now it's 100. So that's gone up 2.5 times before even the mention of the Ukraine problem. So that's going up, and now it's going to go up more. But the thing is, sanctions are putting the price of oil up, and they're sanctioning Russia, and Russia sells oil, oil prices go up, Russia's going to make more money. So you kind of think, yeah, it doesn't quite seem, well, it just doesn't quite seem right if you think about it. And they make claims about Russia's in trouble and Russia's this, but, and they talk about the war and Russia's made a mistake. And, you know, you see sort of things in the newspaper where he's made a mistake, he's done this, he's sent his troops to some area and he hasn't got the logistics, and you kind of think, this is a superpower. Do you really think that they will go into a conflict and they wouldn't think about sanctions, and that they wouldn't think about, oh, if we send an army over there, that we have to feed them? It's like we've sent the army over there, and then they're saying, oh, we need food, water, ammunition, fuel, and they've gone, oh, I didn't think of it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And the trouble is now, there used to be a saying that a picture doesn't lie, but now with technology, where you can film a person and you can change it around and make it seem like totally the opposite, pictures do tell lies now, so you just don't know. But not to sort of spend too much time on the Russia-Ukraine situation, even though I documented it right from the beginning. You know, these are Financial Times here, and you know, this is November 14, and at the time of the first problem in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, I well documented it. And I mean, not to go into too much detail, but it started off round about, the euro started the beginning of the millennium, 2000, and by 2004 there was problems. Prime Minister Gordon Brown went to the European Commission and suggested light touch regulation, and then from light touch regulation, which meant no one was abiding by the rules, was loans and debt was increased round about 2010. If I remember correctly, Greece, Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Italy were all in trouble. You know, you heard about all the bailouts. Well, anyway, in 2013, 2014, Ukraine was another country in trouble. And they had a £15 billion debt. Now, I don't know whether part of that was due. I mean, I could look into it, but whether part of it was due. But they needed to borrow £15 billion. So what happened was the Troika, which is the European Central Bank, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, they set up a deal to lend Ukraine 15 billion. Now, the conditionalities of the loan, if I remember correctly, was that you get 15 billion and government wages, anyone who worked for the government, the wages would get cut in half. Pensions would be cut between 50 and 70%, and gas and electric and food would go up significantly, like 3 times the price or something like that. And they would take away some of Ukraine's industries, farmland, stuff like that. Maybe take it because most of the, or quite a lot of the pipelines from Russia to Europe go through Ukraine, and Ukraine gets paid, I think, 3 billion a year. I'm not sure. They get paid so much per year to let it go through. So maybe the European, the Troika, they wanted to take hold of that. They wanted to take hold of the wheat. Basically, they wanted to take hold of everything that the country made money. So to put it in context, imagine you're a taxi driver. I'm going to lend you some money, but one of the conditions are I have your taxi, which means you can't earn. So that was the problem with Ukraine, and the Ukrainian president, he said no. So there was, and Russia made a deal or an offer, and they offered to lend Ukraine 18 billion. I'm not sure if it was dollars or whatever, but 18 billion. And with the 18 billion, 3 billion would go to pay off their gas bill. So that ties that up. And then the 15 billion that was left over, they were to invest in infrastructure projects. Schools, intelligent kids growing up will be able to work, factories, roads, to invest the money in things that are going to make Ukraine earn money and self-sufficient and become strong in the future. So you see the difference. The Troika wants to lend Ukraine money, but they're going to be constantly weak, just like if a cab driver sold his cab. Whereas Russia wanted to lend Ukraine money in the hope of they'll get stronger. So that is how it started, and then trouble broke out in Ukraine, and they set fire to a government building, and 80 people were burnt to death in the building, and there was all these things going on, and no one sort of mentioned it, no one condemned it or anything, but that's how Ukraine started from. And I mean, I documented that day by day, as I documented Libya, Syria. But anyway, so regardless of what went wrong between Ukraine and Russia this year, the problem, what we like to do is we like to look at the effects. Now, the effects are going to cause stability. Now, don't forget, right, silver is 500 or less pounds per kilo. What event could make that go up to 70,000? Now, the thing is, it doesn't have to go up to 70,000. If silver goes from under 500 to 50,000, when it's around 50,000, you will get people that will pay 70,000 because they'll expect it to go up, or they've got a load of money and they're worried about it becoming worthless, like in Zimbabwe, and they might sort of come out. I mean, it's hard to know, and it's hard to know whether when we sell silver for 70,000, will a cup of coffee be 70,000? So I mean, it's sort of hard to say, but we're looking at what events. So they're talking about sanctions. They've put some sanctions on, and yet again, Russia would have anticipated sanctions, and they've cut Russia out of SWIFT. But I heard round about, I mean, I haven't got into it, but round about 2012, 2014, I heard of China setting up a gold-backed yuan, and that Russia and China were going to trade in the gold-backed yuan. Now, Russia's got gold and China's got gold, and they would have valued, I suppose, how many grams of gold to 1 yuan, so they'd be able to work it out. And they built a pipeline from Russia to China, and that's been running for a while now. Now, in 2014, when they were sanctioning Russia and they were doing things, that's when Russia and China started preparing to do business away from the American dollar and to bypass it. And they have been. So Russia sells, I think they say 40%, or some say 40%, some say 70% of Europe's gas. So if Europe turns around and sanctions Russia so they can't sell gas, what are the chances that China is ready to buy it, or India is ready to buy it, and they get more money? Now, I do remember around about the 2014, there was something about apples from Poland, and Poland, or the Poland government, was upset with Russia, and they come up with this thing: don't sell Russia their apples. So all the Polish farmers refused to sell Russia their apples. So what Russia done is they sourced apples from somewhere else. But then 6 weeks later, so a couple of months later, then I saw that all the Polish farmers had fields full of rotting apples because they didn't sell them to Russia. And you kind of think, so I don't know whether the government left them high and dry, but Russia buys their apples off of the farmers wouldn't sell them, the farmers had no one else to sell the apples to, and the apples went rotten and they lost their crop. So when you're talking about putting sanctions on Russia, bear in mind, Russia sells gas to Europe on credit. Now, if you had a business and you've got a cash buying customer and a credit buying customer, who would you value? You'd value the cash buying customer. China is a cash buying customer. They've got plenty of cash. So I'm not sure if the sanctions are going to work. And I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but the effects of the war looks like that prices are going to go up. Now, whether it's because they're going up because of the war or whether they're using the war to cover up, the prices are going up. So if prices are going up, so say if gas doubles, then that means there's going to be less money to spend on other things, maybe less money to spend in beauty parlours, in cafes, I'm not sure, on Amazon, you know. So then the second wave of that is the beauty parlours now are not paying tax, so that's going to make it harder. Plus they won't have money to spend, and they'll start falling into financial difficulty, or maybe not falling into financial difficulty, but they can see that the trajectory they're on, it's getting less and less. And the same for Amazon. You know, Amazon, they were worth $1 trillion before the pandemic. A year later they were worth $2 trillion. Understandably, everyone was buying on Amazon and they are brilliant. The next year they went up another $1 trillion, but now we've got to the point where people are no longer at home, but they're no longer at home, which means they have less money, and with everything going up they're going to have even lesser money. So I kind of think that the fact that £70,000 for a kilo is kind of saying that the economy's in trouble, and that the value of money is going to start decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. We shall see. We shall see. Anyway, that was the little update on silver. We don't, as far as working with gold, we don't really work with gold. You make a mistake on silver, you lose £1,000. Make a mistake with gold, you lose £35,000. So, and obviously turning up somewhere with 35,000 in your bag is a little bit more dangerous than turning up with £1,000. So, I think that concludes everything on silver that I wanted to talk about. And I know we ranted on about other things to do with it, but like you say, all the current events that are happening do affect the economy, and they will affect silver prices.